What's happening? It's Todd McShay, host of The McShay Show at The Ringer and Spotify. Listen, I love all aspects of football, from the college to the professional game, but the draft is my grind. Listen and watch The McShay Show for all of my draft analysis. And if you want more, subscribe to my newsletter, The McShay Report, where you can find my mock drafts and big boards and all of the buzz and intel I'm hearing from NFL decision makers. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe to The McShay Show on The Ringer, Spotify, and wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. And subscribe to The McShay Report today for a special introductory offer. Google The McShay Report or find it on theringer.com.
Welcome to the Ringer NFL Show. Sheil Kapadia here with Steven Ruiz and Diante Lee. We are bringing you one more mock draft. I feel like we didn't overdo it. We did one mock draft. Now we switched up the order. And the twist this time is that trades are allowed. Any trades. You can move up. You can move back. You can put a veteran on the market. You can basically do whatever you want, which hopefully invites some chaos, and it's not just all of us turning down trades from one another. So Diante, and you messaged us, it said you may have some doozies available during this exercise.
That's right. I won't spoil it, but I put together some frameworks of packages to toss out to you guys and see if I can mess up some draft boards. That's really the goal here.
Are you trading up or trading down? What are you thinking here?
In either direction. I think you'll see how I kind of pitch some of these, especially early in the draft.
Diante saying, I don't want anyone on a veteran salary. Give me the picks. I'm going to nail them. That's what I think. That's what I think we're going to see happen.
That's how you walk in as a new GM, right?
That's right.
I'm not married to any of these players. Yeah. I just got this gig. This contract is terrible. Get this guy out of here. Right. I want picks. Picks are what makes everybody excited in the offseason, where I can put up, my whole thing of this guy was in the SEC. This guy was in the Big Ten. This guy won the Heisman. This guy won the Davey O'Brien. That's what people really care about when it comes to my job.
I love it. That's right. The hope of what could be. And that is how NFL GMs operate this time of year. You want to get a 2026 pick from them, you can probably do that. But 2025 pick, are you crazy? They're going to nail this draft, and every pick's going to be an all-pro, and they're going to solve all their roster problems next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right. So here we go. We switched up the order. So last time we had one order. We just bumped everyone up one spot, which leaves me with the first pick with the Tennessee Titans here. Now, what they do is they don't want you to just make the first pick. They want a little bit of drama. So
ESPN needs some TV time. NFL
ESPN
Network needs a little TV time.
So, I might say to all the other teams, hey, anyone, before we make this pick, does anyone want to make us an offer for the first overall pick?
While we're sitting here, I know Cam Ward is your guy, right? You're sitting here with the Titans. I've heard all the reports. I've seen you guys at all the private workouts looking at Cam Ward. Don't know if you saw this, but Cam Ward was on Fortnite, I think last night or 2 nights ago, naming off Titans players as his favorite players in the NFL. So I know that all of this is a fait accompli, but I just want to call and let you know, as Cleveland, I'm willing to put number 2, number 94, which is a 3rd round pick, and 2 of our 6th rounders on the table if you're willing to part with number 1 and 188, which is a 6th round pick for you.
So you want to move up to 1. You want me to bump down 1 spot for 94, 188, and 6th rounders. I'm sorry, AB. I love you. You've had a rough go over there in Cleveland, but for me to move off of this high upside quarterback prospect and even think about it, I would need a 2026 first. You can throw all those 6th round picks. Who cares? I'm signing undrafted free agents anyway. If you want to make an offer that involves a 2026 first round pick, we can continue this discussion. Otherwise, I got to make some other calls.
Respectfully, we've got a really bad quarterback contract that we're dealing with right now, and I've got to protect future draft capital. So we respected the respectful decline here, and we will talk to you guys another time.
All right. Appreciate it.
The Giants are calling. The Giants are calling.
Okay.
We do not
have
a
up,
future.
Joe?
Yeah, we don't have a future to care about. We might not have jobs a year from now, and we want we want a quarterback with a strong arm. We want someone that we can delude our fan base into thinking that is the next Josh Allen. We have the guy that supposedly groomed Josh Allen to be this quarterback that he's become in Buffalo. Of course, it would not have happened without Brian Daboll. If Daboll was there, Josh Allen would have been the bust that everyone expected him to be. I will offer up that 2026 first round pick, and I will throw in 34 and 99 from this year.
Oh,
That's a really sweet pot.
Now we're swapping, right? So we swapped 3 and 1. Let me get hold on. Let me get my analytics guy over here. Hey, come over here, nerd. Come on. You gotta tell me, is this enough points? All right. So we're swapping 3 and 1. You're giving me 34, 99, and your 2026 first round pick, correct?
Yes. And I'm adding one more thing. I need a 2026 third back.
2026 third back. All right. So the deal is the number 1 overall pick, my third rounder for 3, 34, 99, and your 2026 first.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, I'm on the fence here. I'm not sure, but you know what? We go back a long ways. I don't know if this is true or not. We were scouting on the road. I really felt like HBO did you dirty last year, kind of made you look. Listen, we all would have done that. You signed Saquon to that deal with that O-line now. So they did you dirty. I have a lot of respect for you. You have a deal, Joe. You have a deal.
Go.
You have the first overall pick. Let's call it in. The Giants are now picking first overall, and the Tennessee Titans will pick third overall. The Giants are on the clock.
Yeah, we're taking Cam Ward. I'm looking at the Giants roster and their depth chart, and I honestly don't think it's not that bad. If you get the right coaching staff in here, which it might not be us, it might not be Brian Daboll, but if you get the right coaching staff in here, you get the right quarterback, more importantly, which I don't think is on the roster at the moment. I don't believe in Russell Wilson being the steady hand that the Giants might think he's going to be. We know Jameis Winston isn't a steady hand. I feel like he's the opposite of whatever a steady hand is. And then they have Tommy DeVito. You can't go into a must-win season with a roster that they've built. I don't know if this is a win now roster, but I think they've made a couple of moves that make you think oh yeah, we need to win right now. And you add a transcendent rookie quarterback. I don't think Cam Ward is one of those, but if you're one of these teams drafting, you've got to kind of talk yourself into one of these quarterbacks being a transcendent guy. I think you can drum up enough hope over the course of the 2025 season to save your job. Otherwise, I just don't see how it happens. This is a job-saving move through and through. I think everyone would see right through it, but I don't care because it's the only way I can save my job.
I had written on my note here for the Titans, I was going to call up Joe Shane, and it was a similar offer. I didn't think I was going to be able to get 34 and 99 this year. I had the framework of I move down 1 to 3. You give me your first next year. I give you my third next year. And then what else there? So when you sweetened it with those 2 picks, I thought, I can't say no to this. So the thinking from the Titans is, now, people always say this, and I know sometimes it turns out not being true, but good quarterback draft next year. You're going to go into next year with 2 first-round picks. There's a chance that, for everything Ruiz just said, that the Giants are a train wreck in 2025, and that ends up being a top 5, top 10 pick. I have my own top 5, top 10 pick. I have a lot of draft capital to go get a quarterback who I might, and I like Cam Ward, but who I might like better than Cam Ward next year. Meanwhile, I can still get a blue chip player at number 3. I get 34. I can get a great player there, and I can kind of build up this roster to make it even more quarterback friendly next year. And I'm a new GM in Mike Borgonzi, so I'm able to look, all right, I should hopefully get a few years here, so I'm able to do that. So I think that's a deal that, as much as the Titans, I'm saying it because it's easy for me to say, Borgonzi might say, I'm not going to risk that. I like Cam Ward enough. I'm taking him. Diante, as the observer, what did you think of this deal?
All right. I'm Brian Callahan. I'm sitting next to you at the press conference after you make whatever pick you make at number 3. And I'm moping a little bit because I was really set on Cam Ward. And I'm kind of cutting eyes at you as the reporters are asking you questions about the idea behind the process of this trade. What are you saying publicly about my job and about your plan for building this roster? Because I just had an awful year one, and I'm starting to look over my shoulder because the people who hired me that were in the building in 2024 aren't here in 2025.
I'm saying we have to do what's best for the franchise. Ownership hired me to take the long-term view here. We are going to explore other veteran quarterback options here in the weeks and months ahead. We believe in Brian to really coach up whoever we get here and build this roster with talent. And then I'm texting Shefty on the side. Kidding me? Brian Callahan's not going to be here next year. You care? What do I care?
It's
what
a
Brian
reverse
Callahan
Magic
thinks?
Johnson gif where I'm not going to be here. He's not going to be
He's
here.
not going to be here.
Yeah. No, what do I care what Brian Callahan thinks of the quarterback I'm taking? I'm here for this is the NFL. Everyone, man, woman for themselves in front offices, on coaching staffs. There's been 400 power struggles in this building. You don't think I'm about to lose one to Brian Callahan, do you? So no, yeah, I can say that publicly, and then I can move on here. I do think there's something to it. Would be just difficult to move off the pick if you're the Titans, because there's no guarantee that you're in a great spot next year. These quarterbacks who everyone likes now, we could be here next year going, yeah, remember when everyone thought it was going to be a good quarterback draft? Those guys didn't really pan out there. But if it were me and that was what you were getting back, I was like ownership or something, I would be advising us, let's go ahead and do that. It's a risk worth taking. So there you go. All right. What a start. The Giants land Cam Ward with now we can't take that much time on every pick, or we're going to be here until the draft is actually going to be starting by the time we end. So, all right. Number 2, the Browns are up. AB did not get his trade, but he's got the second overall pick. Diante, what are the Browns doing here?
So while I'm looking over my shoulder to make sure that all the GMs were listening during the owners' meetings about how much we love Abdul Carter and how much we love Travis Hunter and how we would consider Shedeur Sanders. And I'm making sure I'm looking at New Orleans while I'm saying this. I'm looking at the Patriots while I'm saying this. So I'm gonna tap Sheil on the shoulders here as the GM of the Patriots and ask, how badly do you want to have control over how the draft board goes? Number 2 is up for sale. If you're willing to give me a day 2 pick in this draft, it can be a second or a third, and a day 2 pick next year. And that can be a second or a third. So if it's a third this year, got to be a second next year. A second this year, got to be a third next year. That's the framework of the deal.
I appreciate the call, AB. I know all the reporters in Boston are convinced that I should do this, that there are 2 clear prospects who are better than everyone else, the non-quarterback prospects, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. But I'm smart enough to remember last year and the year before and the year before, where everyone thinks they have their draft figured out this time of year, and they think, oh, we know these. It doesn't usually work out that way. Usually there's someone at 8 or 12 or 13. And I have so many holes on my right. Have you seen what we're surrounding Drake May with? Poor guy. I mean, he might go NBA mode and ask for a trade in a year if we don't get him some more players. So I'm going to sit back. I need to get a lot of bites at the apple. Thank you for calling, but I do not want to move up from 4 to number 2 for that price.
All right. No, I respect it. Steven in New Orleans. I know that Derek Carr is not going to be playing. You got any interest in making sure you can control the quarterback that you get? I'm hearing that Shedeur magically on April 22nd and 23rd is drawing a lot of interest from other first-round teams. Any interest from you to have control over your draft board?
No, when I was prepping for this, I considered maybe a trade up for the Saints, a dramatic trade up. That's been something that Mickey Loomis has been willing to do in the past. But you just look at the situation. I know they need a quarterback. I know Derek Carr is not the quarterback of the future. And I know there's now some injury concerns about his shoulder going into next year. But I was willing to get Shedeur at number 9. I'm not willing to trade up to get him, though.
Okay. I respect that. And we're fine. We're about to make our strength our superpower now. And we're drafting Abdul Carter to play opposite Myles Garrett on the edge.
There you go. The second overall pick, the Cleveland Browns, they think about moving around, but they stay put. And the Browns end up with Abdul Carter with the second overall pick, which puts me back on the clock. Tennessee Titans, third overall pick here. We run this one up. We're not even, does anybody want to trade for, I shouldn't say that. Are there any offers? Okay, no offers for the 3rd overall pick. Then we're going to go ahead, take Travis Hunter. We'll figure out where we're going to play him. It doesn't really matter now. We need a blue chip culture setter, and Travis Hunter is going to be that. He's even going to calm Brian Callahan down when he's yelling at whoever's playing quarterback for us. That's how much of a culture setter.
Some quarterback.
He might play quarterback. Yeah, Callahan might tap him to play quarterback in the spring. Who knows? But we are very happy to sit here, take Travis Hunter. We've got 34. We've got 99. We got 2 first-round picks next year. We're feeling good about it. So there you go. The first 3 picks. And I guess I'm on the clock again with the New England Patriots at number 4. This is also my pick. Now, I'll ask once again, I don't have a specific trade partner in mind, but I'll ask you guys, the teams that you are in charge of managing here, does anybody want to get up to number 4? Is there anybody in this draft you want to trade up for?
I'm San Francisco, and I'm getting a little itchy.
I'm good for right now. So it's all you, Diante.
I'm really thinking. You know what? I'm looking at the draft board. I think as the 49ers are going to sit still, but we're letting Schefter know we're thinking about being aggressive in this draft.
That's always a good move. You always need. Yeah, I'm going to throw one out there too. I'm the Saints, and we were thinking about it too.
And also, if whoever I draft it for, you can then let him, and they end up being good, you can then tell him, no, you really love that guy in the draft.
That was our guy the whole time.
Yeah, that was your guy.
They wouldn't pick up the phone. We were calling for the guy. They just wouldn't pick up the phone.
I'm sending a prospect to every insider. I'm giving Pelissero 1 prospect, Rappaport 1 prospect. I'll even throw one at Florio. I don't know. Just spread it. So we can get one of if a generational prospect ends up getting taken here, I'm going to be like, I was like Sean Payton. The Saints do this. They have a history of doing this. The Mahomes, they've been talking about the Mahomes pick, the 2 guys, Fontenot and Sean Payton, for 10 years now.
You know what's interesting about that? For the last pod Diante and I did, where we're looking at the AFC decision makers, I went back and read this story in the Kansas City papers from when they drafted Patrick Mahomes, because Ruiz, I was saying to Diante that I forgot that wasn't Brett Veach, that he was the scout who by all accounts pushed for him, but John Dorsey was still the GM. And actually in that story, it does say that the Saints, and this was at the time of the draft before we knew Mahomes was Mahomes, that the Saints were very interested and the Chiefs felt like they had to get ahead of the Saints because the Saints were going to draft him. So I will actually give that one. Yeah, listen, if you want to spread you got to spread them at the draft. 4 years later, we can't give you any credit for it, but I will actually believe the Saints that they liked Mahomes in that draft. All right, so I'm up at 4 with the Patriots. No one wants to trade up. I will gladly take LSU offensive tackle. We are announcing him as a tackle, not as a guard, not as some short-armed weirdo, not as, generic offensive lineman, offensive tackle. That's it. The guy played in the SEC for 3 years at offensive tackle against some of the best competition in the entire country, was a 3-year starter, allowed 1 sack in his final 3 games. If a year from now, it looks like he can't play tackle, we'll figure it out then. But we're not like the rest of you that get so inside your draft bubble that you think a 1/4 of an inch on his arm is going to make him not be allowed to play tackle in the NFL. So the Patriots take Will Campbell. Ruiz gave me a look, Diante, like I'm getting a little carried away with the short-armed weirdo thing.
I mean, you called him a weirdo.
I'm getting into it. That's you people. We feel good about him. The rest of you are knocking him. We want guys with the chip on their shoulder,
Good football players, man. Anybody who's not celebrating a good football player is a weirdo. I've often said it.
There you go.
If I'm Will Campbell, I'm coming to the draft. I'm taking an inch off like my arm length on the suit, having like a shorter suit just on purpose. And I'm like, whoa, look how long his arms are.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. All right. Will Campbell goes number 4. Number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars and Deontay Lee are on the clock.
I would call up Tony Khan and try to get a trade in, maybe trade a wrestler in there somehow.
I was going to say, if there's anybody out there who's interested, our ears are open, but we're pretty set here to make a pick. So unless you've got something to knock us out, we might just let the phone ring for a little bit.
No, Tom Brady, the Michigan man, is going to let you take the guy that I think you're taking with this pick, the most telegraphed pick of the draft based on mock drafts.
We said it at the combine. We said it at the owners' meetings. We've said it during any press availability that's had GMs and personnel guys available. We need to adjust our defensive interior. This is Mason Graham here 100% of the way. We're not going to think twice about it. Maybe not a blue chip athlete, right? But red chip athlete, blue chip technique, playing of the position. You know, all the things that are going to make him a good defensive tackle he walks in the door with. And he's going to give us some pass rush juice on third down as well. And now we think if Travon Walker continues to take his steps forward as he has in his career, we're going to have two legitimate edge rushers and an interior guy who can create pressure. And that's going to help us get back to where we want to be in the AFC.
All right. I like it. The Jaguars end up with Mason Graham at number 5. Let's take a break because I got to gather with my people here in the draft room because I might be thinking about making a move here at number 6. Ruiz has the Raiders at number 6. I might need to give old Tom a little call here. So we'll be back, get to 6 and the rest of the picks. The NFL draft is here. And if you want to make every pick a little more exciting, FanDuel is where it's at. The app is simple, secure, and packed with exclusive offers. Plus, when you win, you will get paid instantly. No waiting around. And if you think the draft is just about waiting to hear names called, think again. With FanDuel, you can bet on pick positions, which team will draft a player, exact orders, top 5 and top 10 picks, and a ton more, including some ringer specials. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. So before the draft kicks off, download the FanDuel app and get ready to make every moment unforgettable. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. All right. We are back on the Ringer NFL show. Ruiz is up with the 6th overall pick. I am calling. I am the New York Jets. We have the 7th overall pick. I'm calling Ruiz and saying, hey, actually, I'm calling Tom Brady. Sorry, Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, Spytech, whoever, Mark Davis, whoever's answering their phone. Maybe it's a landline. I will give you a 4th. So I will give you 110 overall if you let me move up from 7 to 6. And I'll tell you right now that I'm not taking Ashton Genty. So I don't know who you want. I don't know who you're looking for. I don't know what your options are, but I would love to get up there from 7 to 6. Again, I'll give you a 4th rounder. This is typical. And for some of this trade value, you know, we looked at a bunch of past trades, so we're not making them up out of thin air. I'll give you a 4th rounder, move up 1 spot, and you have my word that I'm not taking Ashton Genty. Are you interested?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Well, Steve, whoa. Hold on.
He called it in.
No. Go ahead.
While Schefter is reporting that that's on the table, I called Jordan Schultz. I'm the 49ers, and we're saying,
okay, now we're talking.
Hey, Brock Purdy's got $55 to $60 million coming up soon, and we've got a wide receiver contract for a player that we really like, but we might want to reset our books a little bit. Brandon Ayuk is on the table, plus 43, and we'll give you 100 or 113 or a future pick.
I'm sorry, Sheil, I'm taking that.
Okay, wait. So give it to it's Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk, our 2nd round pick, which is number 43. And I'll give Steven a choice of you can take 100 or 113. So one's a compensatory pick in round 3 of this draft, or an early 4th round pick in this draft, or you can have a future 3rd rounder.
Okay, because I was looking for a 2nd and a late day 2 pick for this pick, but Ayuk sweetens the deal. I'll take that deal. I'll take 43 and 100. And okay. Ayuk, you got yourself a deal.
All right. So the 49ers move up from 11 to 6. Raiders move back to 11. They take on Brandon Ayuk. They take on Brandon Ayuk's contract. They're saying, we're going to get more out of him than the 49ers were able to. We got Geno. We got Brock Bowers. We got Brandon Ayuk. We got a 43rd overall pick, and we can still get a good player at 11. So big blockbuster trade. I like it. And that puts Diante. Who did Diante trade up for? Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. They don't have a good history here. We ripped them when we went over the NFC decision makers. Who is going to be their first round pick at number 6 overall?
And I made this move because I needed to have some control over my options, right? The 49ers have multiple needs, both sides of the ball. You can take a tackle. You can take an edge rusher here, right? We don't have access to the top corner anymore with Travis Hunter being off the board. But I'm thinking Trent Williams is getting up there in age. We have a guy that we might be able to start at right tackle and phase him over to left whenever Trent Williams retires. Defense needs to be addressed, but it's going to be a veteran group over there anyways because Robert Saleh doesn't want to have to deal with young guys the way he did in New York. Armand Membu, you are a San Francisco 49er.
Wow, they trade up for Armand Membu. You know what? That's an interesting one. Can play right away, heir apparent, learn under Trent Williams down the line. That was the player that the New York Jets had targeted that they wanted to trade up for. My thinking for the Jets was if I want one of Mason Graham, Membu, or Will Campbell. So if two of them go before 6, I'm going to try to get up to 6 and guarantee that I get one of those guys. It doesn't happen. 49ers make a better offer and they end up with Armand Membu. Ruiz, what do you think?
No, I think that's an interesting move. It's a lot of money to trade up for a tackle, but I definitely get it. And I think it's a player that definitely enhances that offense and it enhances that run game, which I think is what they need to get back is the run game, the explosive nature of the run game in particular. So I wouldn't be mad at that if I was a 49ers fan. Maybe next year when we're looking back at the draft class, maybe like when the season starts and our rookies aren't, we don't have a lot of rookies, a lot of young players contributing. Maybe I'm a little madder, but on draft day, I'm happy about it.
And look, if we're San Francisco, we're looking at this year and saying like, this is we got to take our medicine. We've spent a lot on veteran contracts. We had to watch defensive veterans leave the door because we're preparing to pay Brock Purdy. We know our real star, right? The guy who was the engine of this offense, Trent Williams, is getting up there in age and we need to have a plan for him. And if we're as good as we think we're going to be, this is going to be our only opportunity to make a move to get in the top 10 to get a potential blue chip tackle. Let's do this now. I can't promise you what the pass game is going to be like, but if Christian McCaffrey can play, we'll be leaning on our run game. We'll play Brock Purdy, and then we'll figure out what the rest of the identity of this offense is going to be in 2026 and beyond.
What a first round so far. Let's hope that the actual draft is actually this exciting. We got a Cam Ward trade to the Giants. We got Ayuk to the the Raiders, and the 49ers move up. That puts me on the clock with the New York Jets at number 7. This is a hard pick. I didn't have the Jets last time. Diante, I think you had the Jets last time.
Yep.
And if these 6 players go off the board, I'm not sure exactly what the Jets do here. I was trying to think if there's like a Michael Penix Jr. surprise type thing in this draft, it would probably be the Jets taking Shedeur Sanders here and saying, no one knew about it. We didn't mention anything about it. I know we signed Justin Fields, but that's a 2-year thing. And Shedeur is going to come in and compete with him right away. I'm not going to do that for the Jets here. So you could go offensive playmaker. You could go Ted McMillan. You could go Tyler Warren. I'm going to go with Jalen Walker here, the edge from Georgia, maybe a little bit higher than some people might expect here. Undersized edge, but high upside, plays hard. You hope that you add another piece to that defense that already has good linebackers, has Quinnen Williams, has Sauce Gardner. Can you add another edge rusher to that group? Kind of just a playmaking type defender that can create a little chaos. So Jalen Walker goes off the board at 7 to the New York Jets, which brings up Diante at 8 with the Carolina Panthers.
And if I'm the Panthers, this is actually like a beautiful board for me to be working with because I've still got quite a few edge rushers available. If I want to go wide receiver, the top wide receiver in this class is available. That's basically the only offensive need we really need to address since we're not going to be taking a quarterback here. And you know what? Bryce Young, we weren't just paying you lip service. We want to try to build this thing around you and give you a shot to make this happen. We think we'll attack defense at a different point in time in the draft. We're going to go with T-Mac. Tetairoa McMillan is going to be our number 1 receiver for the future with Carolina.
I like it. Tet McMillan goes to the Carolina Panthers to help out Bryce Young. I'm with you, Diante. When I was doing kind of the exercise and making the picks on my own, I'm like, that would be a pretty good outcome for the Carolina Panthers. If McMillan makes it to 8, they can just sit there and make the pick. All right, now it gets real interesting because they're showing Shedeur Sanders. They're going to, I forget. What did I see? Derek Carr's doing some car reviews or something on Instagram. What did I see? Did anyone see this?
No, I did not see any of this.
I forget. He's doing some type of social media. So they're showing that on the broadcast.
You're the only person that isn't blocked by the Carr family on social media currently, so I can't help you out.
I don't know that it's car reviews. I forget. It was something came across my timeline. They're showing that during the broadcast, saying what is going on here with this mysterious shoulder thing pops up in April. Are they a sneaky quarterback team, or do they go in a different direction? The New Orleans Saints and Steven Ruiz, you're on the clock. What are you doing?
Hey, Steven. It's Chris Ballard here.
Oh, ooh.
I've got a deal for you. Okay. I know Shedeur, this is a little rich for Shedeur, and I saw what you did with Jalen Hurts. I've got Anthony Richardson on the hook for you. I've got Anthony Richardson. I've got our number 45 pick and a future day 2 pick. How do we feel about this? And I'm willing to negotiate. This is not a hard line. We can talk about how, based on how you feel about Anthony Richardson.
Hold on, Chris. You got a call on the other line here while Mickey Loomis thinks about that. Hey, this is Mike Tomlin. What's going on, Chris? Now, I was listening to a great podcast, Ringer NFL. I'm just going to be honest. They put this bug in my ear that in case you're not that happy with Anthony Richardson and want to make a move, he's a guy who, is probably not going to work out. Let's be honest. Guy can't complete a pass. He's throwing it all over the place. But, we'll take a flyer. I mean, we signed Russell Wilson last year. So we're just throwing darts here. But I know we're at 21. And I just heard that you might be looking to include Anthony Richardson in some deals early on. So I wanted to get you before you did that. Any interest in some type of move here? I'm trying to look at your picks. The Colts are at 14.
Yep.
We're at 21.
And all we own are our own picks, right? So they're all ours. We don't have any additional capital and no comp picks in this draft.
Okay. I'm looking to see when you pick next. So you pick at 45. What if, would I be willing to do that? Hey, Omar, get off me. Hold on. I'm on the phone here. What do you mean? I would be willing. No, I don't think I can do that. Dang. What
are you thinking? What's the lead? What's the lead part of this compensation?
The Steelers don't have enough capital to really make this move, even though they really do need to make this move, which is the sad part.
Listen,
I think if they have their own second round pick, that would definitely help here. Them not having a 2025 second, I think kind of hurts them in this negotiation if you're trying to get Anthony Richardson.
How about the 83rd overall pick? So we will give you our 3rd rounder for Anthony Richardson, straight up, nothing else.
I'm sorry, man. That's not enough control. We would need to know that we're getting some future draft capital as well, because there's no guarantee that there's going to be a quarterback we like at your spot if we give you this move.
Okay, listen. Talk to whoever else you're talking to, and if I come up with anything else, I'll give you a call back. But go ahead. I think you had Mickey on the other line there.
All right, I'm back. I've had enough time to think about this, and no, we're not trading. We're not trading for Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry, not at this point. I think we have a guy that we could sell to our fans in Shedeur. I don't think we could sell our fans to Anthony Richardson. No matter how many flashes we see on his tape, he has the profile of a NFL draft bust, and I think that's the perception around him at this point. So we're going to pass on that. We're going to try to give our fans some hope for the future, and we're going to take Shedeur Sanders and just pray to God that he works out.
Diante, give me the offer again that you were offering.
That I put up for the Saints to get to 9. It would have been Anthony Richardson, 45, and a future second or third. I was willing to part with the future day 2 pick. And that would have been to get to 9 with New Orleans.
Now you would get 9. Now New Orleans would still get 14, right?
No, 14 was not on the table.
14 not on the table. Okay, no. So it's Richardson, a second.
Plus 2 day 2 picks, basically.
2 day 2 picks, but they then do not end up with a first round pick
right?
in this draft. Okay. I think the Saints would say no to that. Yeah.
I
but
think
I like
so too.
it. It's great.
I think so too. And I think if you're the Colts and you're shopping AR, it can't be Anthony Richardson plus 14, right? Like you can't seed your starting quarterback plus your first round pick. I don't think you can sell that.
That was an offer for me specifically, and not actual Mickey Loomis. He's trying to take advantage of my Anthony Richardson love.
That's smart.
But I also have Spencer Rattler love, and I'm not going to bring in more competition for Spencer. I'm not pitting my two guys against one another.
Would we like the Shedeur? I kind of like the Shedeur Sanders fit as maybe a dart throw in New Orleans. What do you think?
9 is a little rich for me. If I was able to trade down 10 picks, maybe like mid round 14, 15, 16, that range, I think I would like it a lot more. I think it makes sense in Kellen Moore's offense. I just don't know. Like, I think he fits in Kellen Moore's offense, but I don't know if I like that version of Kellen Moore's offense. I think you have to like kind of give Kellen Moore a quarterback who's going to elevate the offense on his own. And I don't think Shedeur is that type of prospect.
All right. New Orleans Saints, Shedeur Sanders at number 9. That puts me on the clock. Number 10, the Chicago Bears. Could go offensive tackle, but I don't know that there's a guy that we love at this spot. Could go offensive playmaker, Genty, Tyler Warren, but we feel like the best player available with the most upside here is going to be Georgia's Michael Williams. So we're going to address the defensive line here, go with Michael Williams, young prospect, upside, physical, tough, should fit that Dennis Allen defense really well. And we're going to take Georgia's latest defensive prospect off the board. So there you go. Bears take Michael Williams, which now we go back to the trade back. So that's the Raiders now who have the 11th overall pick, and that is Ruiz, right?
We're open for business again with this pick. We're willing to trade down if any takers. Anyone want to move up to 11?
11. Do I want to move up here? There's a team I would think about it for. Would the Miami Dolphins be interested in going from 13 to 11?
Let me look at your picks.
Okay. Take a look at my picks. See what
while we do that, I can kind of vamp on Dolphins, right? So Miami's interesting to me because they have needs on both sides of the ball at premium positions, right? They need to have a plan for their offensive line, right? You have Patrick Paul there potentially to be a Teron Armstead replacement, but no guarantee there. You have Austin Jackson playing right tackle, a place that you can improve there as well. Their interior of the offensive line isn't special. You probably stand pat at edge, even though you have injury concerns there. So there's still a lot open there, right? You can go corner if you want. Will Johnson still on the board. You hear reports this week about Jalen Ramsey potentially being on the table for trades leading up to the draft. So there are a lot of opportunities, I think, for the Dolphins to be aggressive here if there's a player that they believe changes their trajectory right now.
Would you be willing to flip these picks, 11 and 13, and then give me 98 this year?
I can't give you 98. I could give you 135. My fourth round pick.
Yeah.
What if we split the difference at 116?
116?
Yeah.
116, flip picks, 13 and 11. You have a deal.
Let's do it.
All right. You have a deal. So the Miami Dolphins.
You have to promise me you're taking a quarterback to replace. No, I'm joking.
The Miami Dolphins move up from 13 to 11. And this is not as Diante would put it, a take your vegetables kind of team. This is, we want playmakers. You give us any 5 offensive linemen, we're still going to be able to create offense. Give me the yak monster, Tyler Warren, out of Penn's tight end, out of Penn State. We might be losing Tyreek Hill. We're going to add Tyler Warren, and we're going to give him 111 targets next year.
I think that's a good pick.
Tyler Warren allows you to get into the Wildcat package. Mike McDaniel just wants to draw up a bunch of cool plays anyways. This is great for Mike McDaniel's resume for his future job.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good pick. I think with his offense, you just need dudes that can fill a playmaking role. And I think that's one thing that they've kind of lost over the last year or so with some of their wide receivers being hurt, Tyreek Hill taking a step back last year, obviously all of the injuries. And I would like to see what Mike McDaniel does with Warren. I think that would be maybe the thing that gets McDaniel back in the good graces of the football nerds who have kind of soured on him over the last year, including Diante.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's looking at you, Diante. All right. So Dolphins move up 14-11. Raiders wheeling and dealing. This new regime, incredible.
A lot of draft capital.
Yeah, they are piling up picks. I like it. So they move down now to 14. Who's 12?
The Cowboys.
Steven. Yep.
Yeah. Cowboys. All right. Ruiz is up with the Cowboys.
Jerry Jones is marching this pick up personally. We're going to take Ashton
1,000%.
This is the Ezekiel Elliott pick all over again. We get to do it at 12 instead of, I think it was 4 when they drafted him. It's a need. I think Jerry Jones is really invested in having a star running back wearing the star. So, I think this pick just makes too much sense for the Cowboys. I was thinking about trading down here, but as long as Diante was here, I was going to take him no matter what. If we would have gotten, like McMillan would have fell to the Cowboys here, maybe I'd take a chance on him. But I think that the other positions of need are positions that we can get later on in the draft. So that's why I was interested in a trade down. But with JT on the board, we can't resist that. We can't resist the PR mostly.
All right. Dak, Genty, CeeDee Lamb, couple young offensive linemen. That has my interest. Good work. I'm with you. I feel like they need to get a receiver who can play right away and complement CeeDee Lamb at some point, which is the Ted McMillan to the Cowboys. It's like one of my just on paper favorite fits in the first round. But the more I do mocks and look at it, I'm just not sure he's going to make it.
He's not going to make it there. I don't
to
think.
Number 12. Yeah. So Cowboys end up with Ashton Genty. I like it. And then Ruiz is on the clock. Once again, the Las Vegas Raiders. Who are you going with?
I was thinking about opening up shop again for another trade, but I'm kind of worried about the next couple of picks. Taking my guy, the guy that I've targeted from the beginning, and the reason why I keep trading down because I know I'm going to be able to get him here. I'm going to go with Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell. Give him to Pete Carroll and just let Pete cook. And the Raiders definitely have a need at linebacker after this offseason. They had a need before the offseason, but they lost some guys, I think, on purpose. I think he's just a great fit in Pete Carroll's offense. And it's a player that you definitely need in that offense. You need a linebacker who can do the things that he can do with his athleticism and his range.
Well, and I think if you're John Spytek, you say, we just got our Levante David, right? Pete can say, we've got our Bobby Wagner. Spytek can say, we've got our Levante David. Both the places that we've come from, we have built, not historic in the sense of Tampa Bay, but we have built Super Bowl winning defenses based off the spine of what we've got. We've got an elite edge rusher. Jahad Campbell can do a bunch of stuff for us as a blitzer, in coverage, and he's got a high ceiling as a 4-5 guy, 33-inch arms, right? Playing at 6'2", 6'3" at the linebacker spot.
Did you think about trading with yourself, Ruiz, and getting the Raiders ahead of the Cowboys to try to get Ashton Genty? Or do you think they're going to be, I don't know if smarter is the right word, but not end up taking Ashton Genty?
I don't think they're going to end up taking Genty. I think you bring in Pete Carroll for a reason. You don't bring in Pete Carroll to kind of ignore him. And I just, maybe Pete Carroll loves Ashton Genty, but I just don't see him as a coach who would like bang the table for a running back in the top 10. Maybe you would.
All right. There you go. 14, Diante, you are up with the Indianapolis Colts.
This is another situation where I think the draft board is pretty friendly to the Colts, right? Outside of Tyler Warren being off the board, there's a need to have blue chip talent on defense, in my opinion here. And if not blue chip talent, guys who can be instant difference makers, right? I think that this is a defense that's going to need a corner. I can't believe this guy's fallen this far. There's been all these conversations about his speed, about his playmaking ability, about whether or not he can stand up and be a number one corner in the league. But playing for Lou Anarumo, I think this is probably the best fit for him player-wise because you're going to get a bunch of zone coverage, which is where he's going to thrive. I'm going Will Johnson here to be our number one corner.
Will Johnson.
I was hoping
Michigan,
for him to fall to Atlanta, so that's a tough one for us. For old Terry, another L for the Falcons.
Another L for Terry Fontenot gets taken. One pick ahead. Will Johnson goes to the Colts, Michigan cornerback, which brings up Ruiz with the Atlanta Falcons. Who do you got?
That's who I really wanted. That's who I had. I mean, we should trade down here, but I don't think we're going to do that. That would admit that we've been owned and that we are rebuilding after last year's disastrous offseason. I guess I'm just going to have to bite the bullet. We're going to go to Mississippi and we're going to take Walter Nolan. I mean, the Falcons have needs all over the defense. I think you can't go wrong. I wanted Will Johnson there, but didn't work out. The Colts took him from us. There's some other options here like Jahdae Barron, but you just got to go with the defensive line. Like, this is a team that has had a pass rush need, a defensive line need for honestly my whole life. Like, I can't remember the last time the Falcons didn't go into a draft needing a defensive
John
line.
Abraham, right? Like, I think John Abraham was the last high level edge rusher that they had, and that was when I was in high school.
Yeah, it's been too long. I don't know if he's necessarily my favorite prospect left on the board, but he's the top defensive lineman probably left on the board, on the consensus board at this point. So let's just take him, and hopefully the draft nerds won't make fun of us like they did last year.
Walter Nolan, Ole Miss defensive tackle, goes to the Atlanta Falcons. All right, I'm up with the Arizona Cardinals at number 16. I feel like they're another team. Still needs help in that front seven. They're like the Falcons. You look at these depth charts and they're like, how are you getting to the quarterback? So they signed Josh Sweat in free agency. They still need work. And let's go ahead and take a flyer on Shamar Stewart. We know that the production wasn't there in college, just 1.5 sacks last year, but the athleticism is off the charts. We trust in our coaching staff that we can get something out of him. So the Arizona Cardinals end up with Shamar Stewart. All right, we take a break. We come back. We'll get to the next 16 picks here, leading with the Cincinnati Bengals at number 17. All right, we are back on the Ringer NFL show. Diante Lee and the Cincinnati Bengals, you are up with the 17th overall pick.
So it gets really interesting at this stage in the draft, right? Like, there haven't been a lot of aggressive trades up from people in the back half of the first round to try to get access to the consensus top players in this class. And I think that Cincinnati here is like an interesting pivot point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Detroit. And I'm going to say, we've got an unhappy edge rusher, and there are also a lot of young edge rushers on the board. So is Detroit interested in trading up for trading us for Trey Hendrickson? And we keep our first round pick. We can put our first round pick on the board as well if you want to put an aggressive offer out on the table. Or do you want to get access to a Mike Green? Do you like a Donovan Ezeraku here as another pure edge rush talent? Is there another guy on the board that you might be interested in? We are open for business.
All right. So I am Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions. We don't have an edge guy. We don't have any prospect really that we want to trade up for now. We don't see a big difference between the guys who are available now and the guys who might be available to us later. But you know what? We are a little tired of being patient, and you don't know how long you're going to have the opportunity to compete for a Super Bowl. And Trey Hendrickson's pressure numbers and production last year was off the charts. We think he would be a great fit. Now, we're not sure if we're going to be able to pay him. And Duke, listen, we know you haven't been able to trade him because no one wants to trade for him and pay Trey Hendrickson. Now, we can get a little creative. I convinced ownership we're going to do, just pay people crazy cash up front and add those void years to the back. So I might be willing to make the contract work, but what type of compensation are you looking for Trey Hendrickson?
I would like to get 28, and we'll sweeten the deal by throwing some draft picks back at you.
I don't know.
I can give you Trey Hendrickson.
I can't give up 28
I
for
can give you Trey Hendrickson
30-year-old.
81 and a future day 3 pick, a future 4th rounder.
I don't think I can do it. I can't give up my first. Listen,
Can I sweeten the deal with 49 and a future 4th rounder?
49, Trey Hendrickson, a future 4th.
And I get 28 overall.
And you get 28 overall. Now we're thinking. Now we're pacing with Dan Campbell. So I'm essentially swapping 28 for 49. So I'm moving back 21 spots. I'm getting a future 4th. I'm getting Trey Hendrickson. You got a deal, Duke. Let's do the deal. Trey Hendrickson, you are a member of the Detroit Lions. Listen, now we're figuring out a contract before we actually officially called this trade in, but we're on the phone with Hendrickson's agent now. We think we're going to be able to get something done. We think he can be a productive player for us for the next 2 to 3 years.
2 years, yep.
And we're taking a shot on Trey Hendrickson. So there you go. Bengals keep their pick, right? Yeah, so Bengals
we keep our
still
pick.
have their pick at 17, but they add 28 and they lose 49. I'm Kiera Lions fans who listen, I feel like they'll be mad about this, most of them. But I don't know. Ruiz, what do you think? Should Lions do that deal?
Yeah, I think they should, because I think they have a very clear window that's open. It's a murky window after the offseason just because you lose Ben Johnson and we know how important that offense was. But if you're going to make up for that difference, I think you just need to go all in on the defense. And if you have 2 game-wrecking defensive ends, I think like that could make up for whatever deficiencies you might have on the back end of the defense, which we know has been a problem in recent years. I think it protects your linebackers. I just think it makes the whole defense better. And I think that's where you have to get better to make that leap from contender to a team that can actually win a Super Bowl, or actually does win a Super Bowl, I should say.
That's pretty fun. Hendrickson at 49 to the Lions for 28 and a future 4th. I think that's a good deal. I think it's an interesting deal.
I think it's a good deal. And if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm telling Adam Schefter, we've got 49 and 60, and I'm looking at a lot of teams from 27 on that should probably be looking to trade back to get some second round draft capital. That might not be the end of Detroit in the first round. They might be able to make another swing back up, to be able to get a guy if there's somebody on the back end of the first round that they really like. So I think you get a guy for right now, and you can still get somebody on a rookie window when you start thinking about some of the other contracts that are going to come up when this team gets expensive.
All right. Diante wasn't lying, man. This guy was cooking up trades left and right all day long before this recording. All right. So who did the Bengals end up taking at 17 overall?
So we're only doing this deal because we know we're taking an edge, right? We're replacing Trey Hendrickson with the highest ceiling at edge that we can get here. And to me, that's Mike Green, right? We're going to take a chance on Mike Green. We're trusting the fact that Mike Green is being honest about whatever the circumstances were at the University of Virginia, right? So investigation suspended. We're going to give the whole spin, right? We're giving the whole spin. Hey, that's over. We think that he's telling the truth. We think we're going to get the best years of him in terms of his conduct and his character. And if he hits and if he takes care of his business, we're talking about a guy that was as productive as any guy in this class at the position, speed rush guy. We think he's going to work really well in Al Golden's defense for us.
All right. Bengals take Mike Green, edge rusher, out of Marshall at 17. That puts Ruiz on the clock at number 18 with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, Diante made this a little bit easier for me. I think we're going to go edge defender. Like, you could go offensive lineman, but I think they're more focused on the interior offensive lineman, which you can get later in the draft. I don't think there are any guys that we're going to feel bad about missing out around this range. I guess in a couple picks, we might. Maybe a trade down is an option, but Seattle already has a bunch of picks in this draft. So we're just going to take Donovan Ezeroku from Boston College and just hope that he could be that edge defender we've been looking for the past couple of years.
All right. Sam Darnold looks around and says, you guys promised me you're going to add some offensive linemen here. When I signed, oh, well, listen, the checks will still cash. It's all good. Mike McDonald says,
he's going to hold on to the ball for 3 seconds anyway. Why would we block for him?
All right. So Mike McDonald's got the juice there. He says, no, we still want to get a defensive player. All right. I'm up with the Tampa Bay Bucks at 19. I actually thought Ezeroku would have been a nice fit for my team. It didn't end up that way. Before I call in the pick, is anybody interested in moving up to 19? Maybe for a Colston Loveland? Maybe for a Tyler Booker? Maybe for a Jahdae Barron? Somebody else on here. Would anyone like to move up to number 19?
I'm the Chargers, and I like Booker and I like Loveland, but I'm looking at the teams that are ahead of us, and I don't think that they're going to be off the board by the time we're picking. So we'll pass for now.
What are you looking for, Sheil? What are you looking for? What are you thinking?
I'm desperate. You know, this board did not fall the way we wanted it to fall. And so I'm just looking to add additional draft capital. So this is a market where if you're looking to move up, you know, this is probably bad negotiating by me, but listen, I'm an honest guy, Jason Light. So, you might be able to find yourself a deal. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Eric DeCosta in the Ravens.
What's up, B?
Yeah, we don't usually trade up. We're usually guys that will trade down. We try to accrue draft picks, but I believe we have 11 draft picks in this one. So what is it? 8 spots? How many spots do I have to move up? 8 spots?
No, you would be moving. 27 to 19 would be where you are moving up. So I feel like, I'm looking at past trades here. That would be something like the Chiefs. Listen, the Chiefs just moved up from 29 to 21, and they gave up a third and a fourth.
Okay.
So would you be willing?
That was in my
Like
wheelhouse. I'm thinking 91 and 136, which is a comp pick. It's a 4th round comp pick. The 34th
it's a
pick.
Third and a fourth?
Yes.
And I am the Bucks, and I move 19 to 27. You have a deal. We are moving down. We are accumulating draft capital. The Ravens, unexpectedly, are on the clock at number. This is interesting. Who did the Ravens want to move up for here?
We're moving up to take Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron because we the writing's on the wall with our secondary. We drafted Wiggins last year, and we're trying to replenish that. We're trying to keep the cupboard full with defensive backs. We skimp on pass rush. You know, we can buy sacks in free agency. We can find sacks somewhere. We can scheme them up, but you can't scheme up defensive secondary talent. So we're going to take Barron, and we're going to trade up to do it.
Now, Eric, are you okay? The nerds generally love you guys, but I'm sure they'll find some way to twist themselves into, just to justify this move. But are you okay with losing some nerd points here with the trade up?
Yeah, we're fine with that. We drafted J.K. Dobbins a couple of years ago in the second round. Yeah, we're cool with it. We don't care.
I love it. All right, Ravens, Jahdae Barron. I could see that. You can see Jahdae Barron fitting that Ravens defense, which brings us to 20, the Denver Broncos. Diante, who does Sean Payton have his eye on?
God, there are a lot of different directions we can go in.
Hold on. Nick Casario's on the phone.
Oh, here we go.
What's up, Sean? How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you? Surprised to be hearing for you. I thought that the draft board was working out pretty well for you. You getting a little antsy over there?
Well, sometimes, I don't know. I don't know if I actually want to do this, but, I never want there to be a deal on the board that I don't explore. So I figured I would at least call you. Now, the guy erased our picks from the whiteboard. So let me take a look and make sure I know what picks I have actually available. But as you know, I have the 25th overall pick. Mm-hmm. And so I am kind of interested in moving from 25 up to 20. Now, here's the deal. I only have 4 picks this year. So I can't give you anything from this year, but I can give you a 2026 4th round pick to move up from 25 to 20. Are you interested?
Oh man, that's not a bad deal. That's not a bad deal. But if we're gonna talk, and I'm the Broncos, there's running backs and wide receivers here that I'm really interested in, and I want to start building around Bo Nix. And you just got a nice haul for Laramie Tunsil. I'm looking at your future 2nd round picks, and I think I want a piece of one of those. So how about I get a 2026 2nd, you get my 1st and my 4th this year. We swap 1st round picks. You give me one of your 2nd rounders. I give you a 4th rounder in this pick as well. Help you get some current draft capital.
All right. So you're giving me a 4th this year. I'm giving you a 2nd next year. And we're swapping picks. Oh, listen, you drive a hard bargain here, Sean. I'm trying to decide. Let me look at some of these teams ahead of me, see how likely it is that the guy I want is going to still be available. I don't think I can do it. Listen, I wanted to. I'm thinking about it. I might regret it, but I don't think I think, you know what? I forgot that I only have 4 picks. So I'm just going to sit tight. I'm gonna see who's available at 25. Sorry, carry on. We'll carry on with the 20th overall pick. Go ahead.
No, I like the negotiation there. And
I like that you forgot how many picks you have.
Listen, things get hectic in the draft room. It happens.
That's right.
For us, this is really interesting, right? Like Amari and Hampton has definitely been like a pretty obvious pick that's been available for Denver here. The 2nd best running back on the board for certain, a guy that has 3 down potential in the league. But I'm still thinking about Travion Henderson in the 2nd round, man. Like, I think I might be able to get access to a running back that we can use as part of our stable that's going to give us the big play pop that Omari and Hampton would too. And I really want to get a slot receiver. I think I'm going to go Luther Burden here.
Wow.
And we'll make a move for a running back on day 2 of the draft.
I like it. Luther Burden, who will have like 135 targets in that offense, I think.
He's going to play the Z. He's going to play the slot. We're going to give him jet sweeps and bubble screens.
That would be fun, actually. I do like
touches.
that. Yeah, I like that player team match there. All right, so Broncos go with Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden at 20. The Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock at 21. Maybe they dreamed of Shedeur Sanders slipping to them. Did not happen. Ruiz, who are they going with?
I mean, the board has really fallen well for the Steelers. Like every draft need they have a decent pick at each one. If they want to do the first round safety thing again, which has burned them in the past couple of years, we can go Malachi Starks. We can go Kenneth Grant, which is definitely a need. We can go tackle. Josh Simmons, Kelvin Banks are still on the board. If we want to go running back, we can go Amari Hampton. If we want to do the Kenny Pickett thing again, we can draft Jackson Dart and draft a bust again. But Rooney, the owner, after the season had said we need to shore up the interior of our defensive line. Got guys, aging out of the position. We're going to go with Kenneth Grant. It's a boring pick, but it's a pick we have to make.
Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which puts me on the clock at 22 with the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, there are some guys available that I did not necessarily expect to be available here. And I think I'm going to go.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Yep. Hey, this is Joe Ortiz. What's going on?
So I'm calling from Wisconsin. All right. This is the Green Bay Packers. And
What's
I want to
up,
let you know. I want to let you know before we even start this conversation, 23 is not on the board. This is not about a pick swap.
Ooh.
I'm just looking at your depth chart and I see that you've got a little hole at corner. And I've got Jair Alexander as a contract that we might be willing to move off of. What is it going to take in addition to Jair Alexander to consummate this deal for 22 so we can get back-to-back picks?
This is Justin Herbert's biggest fan calling in. Can we make this a 3-way call so I can offer some advice on this deal? Can we also, I just want you to not hang up without making him throw in one of those wide receivers into the package. That's all I'm saying. I'm hanging up.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. Good to
No,
to
that
hear
was
from you
Stephen
there.
Ruiz on behalf of Justin.
Oh, that was Ruiz. I'm sorry, on behalf of Justin Herbert. Now, I mean, just to be clear here, this is the Jair Alexander who's played 14 games the last 2 seasons, correct? The one with the big contract, who I believe had some issues with Matt LaFleur. We're just making sure we're talking about the same player, right?
That's right. And that's why I'm letting you know. I'm willing to let you drive the bus on the negotiation here.
Okay.
You can't have 23, but if you want to talk day 2 draft capital, I think that's a conversation we're willing to have now and in the future.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? We'll see how the draft plays out. At this point in time, we would rather take our chances on some younger. We're trying to build a culture here. Some younger players. We value durability. That contract, I don't know if ownership's going to want us to pay that, so we might need you to take some money off. So this wasn't on my radar, and since I'm about to pick here, I can't go through all the machinations now. But you know what? After the first round is wrapped up, maybe we have a conversation. I'll tell you now, I don't think we're talking about more than a day 3 pick, but we can have those conversations at that time. Appreciate you calling.
That's fair.
All right. Chargers then are up, and I think the Chargers would look at this and say, well, there are a few intriguing options here, but they may be looking at a guy who I believe Jim Harbaugh recruited. I could be wrong about that, but I think he recruited and is still on the board. Did not think he was going to be on the board. We need offensive playmakers. And we're going to go ahead and take Michigan tight end Colston Loveland with this pick.
I approve of this deal. One that's very much telegraphed. I think if there's one thing I can say for certain, I think the Chargers are leaving the first round with the Michigan guy.
Grant or lower. I guess if Will Johnson were to fall there. This is an interesting part of the draft. There are some guys here who I feel like would somebody trade up for Colston Loveland if he fell all the way into the 20s? I think that would be interesting. I kind of thought he was going to go a little bit earlier here. All right.
I was thinking about that too, like the Rams, for instance, maybe.
Yeah, the Rams, I think. I was thinking about it, but there are a lot of different directions we can go based on how the draft board looks right now.
Okay, we got the Green Bay Packers on the board at number 23. Diante is up. Who do you got?
All right. I'm looking at our defensive line. There's really not a lot of needs on this roster, right? This is a relatively healthy roster from top to bottom, even though we don't have a bunch of blue chip talent. And I got to have an edge rusher, right? And I think I'm willing to break from type as far as what we typically scout, what we typically bring into the building, because I've got to take a chance on a guy's ceiling. We're going to bring in James Pierce Jr. to play on the edge for us and hope that bringing in some genuine speed rushing gives us that edge that we need to be a true competitor in the NFC.
James Pierce Jr., the Tennessee edge rusher. They like the measurables, right? In Green Bay, they like the athletes. He certainly fits from that perspective. Will he be a designated pass rusher? Can he be a 3-down player? Can he meet that upside in the NFL? That is an interesting pick and one that I could see for the Green Bay Packers. All right, 24, the Minnesota Vikings. Steven Ruiz, you are on the clock.
All right. A lot of
By the way,
directions.
if any other GMs are watching this and want to trade up, this is a good place to trade up because the Vikings had the lowest draft capital of any team in the NFL. I'm looking at my GMs. I don't think they want to do it, but just putting that out there.
Yeah, I definitely.
I'm the Commanders. I think I'm good. I'll stay at pat for now.
I definitely thought about trading down here, but I'm looking at the offensive line options. And if I'm Minnesota, that's a position group that I just want to keep replenishing over and over again as much as I can. It's really just comes down to which pick I want. I would also consider maybe a running back here, but I don't think Kwesi is going to go in that direction as an analytically minded GM. Give me Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State.
Interesting.
Gray Zabel has played multiple positions in college.
That's
interior
the idea.
offensive lineman, can fill different holes for the Minnesota Vikings. I like that. Gray Zabel, North Dakota State to the Minnesota Vikings. And Nick Caserio exhales with the Texans because he really wanted to get a tackle. He wasn't sure where this guy was going to go. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State, got to do something to protect CJ Stroud after this sort of weird offseason that they've had. Zabel was another guy who I think the Texans would probably like if he were on the board at 25, but the Texans are going to go with Josh Simmons at number 25, which takes us to the Los Angeles Rams and Diante.
Yeah, I'm looking at best defender available here. There's still a lot on the board, especially on the back seven that we can work with. So we're open for business, but I've got to be honest. I'm thinking about the teams behind us. I don't know if there's a lot of impetus for teams to come up at this point, right? I think that we're really going to be talking more trade downs, teams maybe trading out of the first round more than guys trying to get up to 26. And I really can't believe that this guy is on the board here. I would have thought the Ravens would have taken him because he's just another guy who's just a good football player, an easy scout, and we could definitely use a safety. I'm going Malachi Starks from Georgia to play safety for us.
Malachi Starks. Oh, that's right. I forgot that the Ravens traded up to where'd they trade up
Barron.
to? Jade Barron.
19. Yeah,
19 for Jade Barron. Yep.
19. And that was with what? Which team? Remind me.
The Bucks.
The Bucks are at 27.
The Bucks. Okay. Listen, they're bound to get confused. Now I know what happens to these GMs when they're making weird decisions. It's hard to keep track of all this with all these. All right. So yes, I also thought Malachi Starks screams wherever he goes, they're going to get the approval from social media. From, oh man, how'd they do it again? I like that. Rams take Malachi Starks at 26, which takes us to the Tampa Bay Bucks at number 27. Who am I going with here at 27? Malachi Starks off the board. Ooh, there's a player here who I'm a little bit intrigued by. Let me think about this. So a couple of guys I would think about here for the Bucks. If I'm thinking just best available player, you have Tyler Booker, the guard. I don't know that that's necessarily something that they would need to do here. Yeah. Nick Emenwari, that one's kind of interesting. In a Todd Bowles defense, could you find a use for him, or do you already have a guy like that in Antoine Winfield? Do you go a guy like Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon, and say, let's just kind of make that a strength here? So the Tampa Bay Bucks at this spot, I'm going to go Derek Harmon. I'm going to go defensive tackle out of Oregon. Just take a guy who I think could be best available player at this spot. So there you go. That's the pick for the Bucks, which brings us now to 28.
Yep, which is me again. I'm here as the Bengals.
That's right. This was originally the Lions pick. Thank you for keeping track for me. Now it's the Bengals pick at 28 as part of the Trey Hendrickson trade. Who are the Bengals going with at 28?
You got to talk to your one scout. You talk to your one scout and see what he's thinking.
And trust me, this is the SEC pick, right? You don't have to worry about that. Mike Green was a stretch for us, right? Going to somebody who was not in the Power 4 conference, but we are definitely using 28 on a big conference guy. I'm kicking myself a little bit that Derek Harmon's off the board, bringing in a defensive interior guy and really just addressing the front twice in the first round would have been a preference for us. But the fact that he's not here, I think, makes this pick pretty clearly a defensive back. I'm going to take Trey Amos, long guy, physical, can play some press man, has some ball skills, can do a lot of different things for us, right? And that versatility is going to be a big deal. And a guy I think that's a little bit cleaner eval than some of the high ceiling DBs that they've taken in years past. So Trey Amos comes in, hopefully to be our number one corner.
There you go. Cincinnati. So that this is an interesting outcome for the Bengals. Yeah, Bengals fans and Lions fans, I'm curious to hear what they think about this maneuvering. I mean, you can easily spin this if you're the Bengals and say, we weren't going to pay that. You know, we got two defensive players who we hope we made good bets on in the first round, and let's see what this thing looks like. Again, they've made those bets in previous years. They haven't always worked out, but this would be a pretty interesting outcome for them in the first round. All right. The Washington Commanders. This is Diante again. You are up next with the 29th overall pick. The Washington Commanders. What do you got?
There's like maybe 10 teams that have a lot of day 2 draft capital. And I think if you're the Commanders, and I think the Eagles as well is another team that I have control over for this, you really want to start kind of peacocking the 29 and 32 pick to those teams with day 2 draft capital, right? Hey, we'll get out of the first round, especially if you're Washington, because you gave up mid-round draft capital to go get Laramie Tunsil. I might be able to recoup that. There's a lot of players, I think, in round 2 and round 3 that can be impact players for them. I don't know if anybody's going to make a move right here to get to 29 because so many players are available. I'm going to take a ball of clay that can maybe be a Jeremy Chin replacement for us. This is going to be Nick Emenwari, and we're going to use him everywhere. He's going to be a blitzer when he needs to be a blitzer. He'll be a Sam backer. He'll be a nickel. He'll be a safety. We're just going to use that guy to kind of patch over any problems we have with the run fit and in coverage. He can be a ball hawk type of player.
That's a fun fit, I feel like, for a Dan Quinn defense there. I think you're right to identify this as a spot in the draft where the teams behind them, specifically the Chiefs and the Eagles, if they feel like there's a player that the Bills are going to take that they want, you could easily jump the Bills and get to 29 and try to draft that player, because the Commanders do not have a lot of picks in this draft. I think it would behooves them to move back if they're able to, or even if you're a team in the second round where you like somebody and you want to get up there. The Commanders to me seem like a pretty obvious trade back candidate there, but it takes two. Like Diante said, you never know. Can you find that partner or not? They can't find a partner in our exercise, and they go Nick Emenwari. All right, 3 more picks left. We have the Buffalo Bills, and Steven Ruiz are up with the 30th overall pick.
And honestly, if you're the Bills at this spot and someone does leapfrog you, I don't even think you care at this point, because you have 2 second-round picks. You have some corners that you can take in this spot. Obviously, we just got our safety just went before us. That's another position of need. It's kind of tough here. Like I want a corner. Like I'm thinking Siobhan Revelle from Eastern Carolina, but I'm also looking at Matthew Golden at the board still and thinking about Josh Allen, it's kind of hard to pass him up, but I'm going to go with Ravel just because I think you get him into Sean McDermott's system. You have all that athleticism. I think he's a guy that needs to be coached up. And I think it might be tough to play early on in that Bills defense. And maybe that could be a part of the decision-making. But I'm going to go with him. I'm going to trust my coaches to get the most out of this guy who I think can turn into a special player if he can learn how to play football at the NFL level.
Well, and he doesn't have to be your number one corner because you already have Benford in the building, right? So like the strain isn't there for him to hit immediately. You've got a little bit of time for him to get healthy, for him to learn the pro game. And I think that the tools are all there for that guy to be a potential Pro Bowl player if he puts it all together, right? He's very similar to Trey Amos in terms of versatility and a guy who can do a lot of different things. And he has the ball skills to take the ball away.
I was also considering Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, who I think is like more of
I would have thought Hairston here.
I think he's more of a traditional Buffalo pick here. But maybe Buffalo goes against type because they have been trying to address these positions at this part of the draft. Honestly, I would think about moving down just because of my track record of drafting around this spot with Buffalo. But no, I think we had to leave with the corner, at least one corner. And I think Ravel has the highest upside of these guys, although I do think Hairston makes more sense as a fit.
All right, Siobhan. Ravel, that puts me on the clock with the Chiefs at 31. Some of the names that are still out there, Tyler Booker. The guard has not gotten taken. That's a little surprising. Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas that Ruiz mentioned. Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive lineman. Omarion Hampton, the running back. Emeka Egbuka is still out there as well. And then the corner you guys just mentioned, Maxwell Hairston. I wanted to take offensive tackle here. I thought I was going to take offensive tackle here. But if Matthew Golden is still on the board, and we can pair him with the other guys we have here, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, 3 guys on rookie contracts, help out Patrick Mahomes. We made the trade for the left tackle, so hopefully we set a floor there. We cannot resist, and we will go with Matthew Golden. Sorry.
I was just sitting here thinking.
Don't turn that in. Hey, Brett.
I've been sitting here thinking. And I'm telling you, if this was ever on the table, you want something that's going to make Eagles fans just livid. It's the idea of negotiating with Kansas City. This isn't even 431. I just want to see if you're interested with parting with some of your future draft capital. It can be a day 3 pick for Dallas Goedert. We would like to have a little bit of additional draft capital to kind of play around on day 2. And I think that this might be an opportunity for us to do so.
Now, you said future draft capital, correct?
This can be future draft capital, yeah. We understand where Dallas Goedert's at. We know the contract's coming to an end. We know that the age cliff is going to be a little concerning for teams, but you're a contender. You're thinking about 2 years. You're not thinking about 6 years. So it is something that you might be interested in.
All right, let me look at our picks here. I know we've got, I believe, 20 picks in the next 2 drafts.
Yep.
Wait, but we are so we are the Chiefs. Oh no, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm the Chiefs here. All right, I just recorded a Philly special. Now it's the last few minutes of like 4 hours of potting. I'm getting very confused here. All right, Kansas City. So what would the Chiefs give up for Dallas Goedert? That's the question. Now you may have to pay Dallas Goedert,
right?
If you are the Chiefs,
you got to consider the money here.
But man, this could be interesting. This is really interesting. How about
probably 2 to 3 years once Travis Kelce is done, where you don't have to address the position?
Yeah, and he can do the blocking for me. I can play a little 12 if I need to. How about a 2026 fourth for Dallas Goedert? We'll take him off your hands. Listen, you've been holding on to him, Howie. We know you don't have a lot of great offers there. He wouldn't still be on your team. So I feel like this is very generous of us. By the way, I'm Andy Reid. I kind of, helped give you your start in the NFL. Let's not forget that here. A 2026 fourth for Dallas Goedert.
I think I'm willing to talk shop with you for a 2026 4. We'll take this deal. We'll say we're going to take the principle of this deal, and we'll have the rest of the conversation after the first round, because I'm thinking about your day 2 pick, because you've got 63 and 66. And I think I might want to throw in some day 3 capital. We'll add to this deal in the future. And we said we've agreed to it in principle. We'll let you keep 31.
Okay, we've agreed to it in principle, though. I want to make sure that's correct.
Yes.
Listen, Howie, I know sometimes, you'll be calling somebody else, and now all of a sudden you say, yeah, I didn't agree to it, so I don't want any of that. So the Dallas Goedert is a Kansas City Chiefs. The framework is a 2026 fourth, and if we want to agree on anything else, we can, but that is the framework of the deal, correct?
That's right.
Okay, that's done. And now with the 31st pick, the Chiefs take Matt. What an outcome for the Chiefs. So if you're Matthew Golden, so the Chiefs come out of this with a 4th round pick in 2026 and the first overall pick, and they had Matthew Golden and Dallas Goedert to their pass catcher group. That's a nice outcome for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Who's going to stop this offense? Who's going to stop this offense?
We're
Graphic.
putting the graphic back up. We're putting the graphic back up.
And then I quote tweet it with a corner who can press.
I thought you were going to quote tweet it with Jawan Taylor and whoever the guy that traded and left.
Jalen Moore.
Yeah, you could. You have a couple options there. Think about it. You don't have to just decide now. All right, so Chiefs get Matthew Golden and Dallas Goedert, and with the 32nd overall pick, what are the Eagles doing? Is anyone calling to get back into the first round? Maybe take a flyer on Jackson Dart, or maybe just another player. They can't believe that Tyler Booker is still on the board here, Kelvin Banks Jr., or do we have the Eagles making a pick at 32, which this is an interesting look. I'm not sure who the Eagles would go with at this spot, Diante.
So I brought up the Dallas Goedert deal with Kansas City specifically because, and we're not going to hold up this podcast with all of the machinations of the trade, but my thinking is we're going to agree to that future day 3 pick, but what I'm really after is 63 or 66 to get a 2nd rounder. And then I'm also shopping 32. And there are a lot of teams that have multiple day 2 picks in this draft. We're taking Kansas City off the board because we're shooting for that, right? I'm going to assume I'm going to offer future draft capital because we're going to get comp picks after the loss of Milton Williams. Some of the other guys that have left, Josh Sweat, all these guys who have left in free agency that we didn't replace with comparable players. So we're going to have a lot to play with in the future. I'm looking at Chicago, who wants to make a playoff run. I'm looking at Buffalo as a contender, right? I'm looking at, Houston as a contender. I'm looking at these AFC teams. Hey, we did a deal with Kansas City. You don't want to lose ground to a team that looks vulnerable right now, right? I want to see if one of those teams is willing to part with some day 2 draft capital to see if they can get another shot at a team, right? Or I'm looking at Seattle in the NFC. I know you've got Sam Darnold, but there's a quarterback available that you can get at 32, very low stakes. And when you're ready to leave from Sam Darnold in 2 years, you'll have a guy that you've been prepping to take his job. Is there any interest out there for 32?
Listen, I know Ruiz is the Seahawks here, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Seahawks. They've got a bunch of picks here. They got 50, 52, 82, and 92. And you have a couple starting caliber offensive linemen here, and Tyler Booker and Kelvin Banks Jr. I would wonder if I feel like Seahawks Twitter would be saying in this spot, go get that 32nd pick, get the offensive lineman. You make the Chiefs move back to 50. And I'm trying to think of what the rest of that deal would look like. 50 to 32. Would it be something like, would you give up 82?
I was going to say 82 or 92.
Yeah.
I think
and we've
92.
got a bunch of 5th rounders too, so we can kind of get this to be where it's about as even in terms of compensation as possible, right?
Yeah.
We'll help you out. We'll take 2 day 2 picks. I'll give you one of our 5ths back if you're willing to put 50 and 92 on the table.
Here's the thing is I'm looking at, we have 2 2nd round picks. We have the 18th pick in the 2nd round. And we have another one. We have the 20th pick. So 2 picks later. So I feel like if we want to move up, if one of these offensive linemen fall to us, which I think is a possibility, we can maneuver up the draft board a few picks without having to give up too much. So I think we're going to pass on this one. We're not going to trade up into the first round.
Well, let me counteroffer. Let me counteroffer.
Hold on, don't hang up yet.
I want to make this worth it for you. I want 50 and 92 because you have 52 and 82, and I will give you 32 overall and 2 day 2 picks. I might even be willing to part with another one of our several 5th rounders to maximize on our day 2 draft capital if I'm Philadelphia. So how does that sound?
I'll take that.
You get 32, 134, and I'll throw you 165.
All right, I'll take that. We like our 4th and 5th round picks in Seattle here. We fancy ourselves evaluators. John Schneider, we can find some guys in here. We've done it before. We've built a Super Bowl caliber defense with those picks. So we're going to take that. And we're going to, with the last pick in the draft, we're going to take Kelvin Banks out of Texas.
All right. The last pick, the Seahawks get their offensive lineman, Kelvin Banks. Diante, give me the comp there. Again, just so the people listening at home can follow with what the final deal was here between the Seahawks and the Eagles.
So the Seahawks part with number 50, which is their 2nd round pick, and number 92, which is a 3rd round pick. And what they received in return was number 32, right? So this 1st round pick. And they also get one of our 5ths, which is 165 overall, and one of our 4ths, which is 134 overall.
Okay. I like it. Fun trade. Seahawks take Kelvin Banks to close out the drafts. All right. That was amazing. That was fantastic. What an exercise. That was a lot of fun. A lot of trades. Ayuk gets moved. Who else? Trey Hendrickson gets moved. Was there another vet that got moved in there?
I tried to get Anthony Richardson out of there, but nobody bit. No
one bit on Anthony Richardson.
Dallas Goedert
gets moved.
Diante was trading vets. He said it at the beginning. He's getting rid of vets. He just wants draft picks.
And now if I'm Howie Roseman, you know what I've got? I found a way to get a Kansas City 3rd or 2nd. I've got Seattle 2nd, and I've got Seattle's 3rd in this draft.
Yeah.
So now, while everybody's yelling at me for not giving you an opportunity to hear, and you're reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles select in the 1st round, I've now got total control of my draft board to address tight end. I can address safety. I can address offensive line. I can bring in a bunch of talent at a bunch of different spots that are going to help us patch over. I can go to linebacker with Nakobe Dean dealing with his torn patella. Carson Schlesinger is a really interesting day 2 pick. So there's a lot of different directions I can go. So I feel like I got the better end of this deal, and I don't have to deal with Dallas Goedert's contract.
I love it. Diante's in full Howie Roseman mode where he's like, I'm going to justify. Oh, I need to justify all of this. Even I just won the Super Bowl, but just so you don't yell at me, here's why I did all these things, which I do think is kind of how the Eagles are operating this offseason. All right. That was a lot of fun. That was the mock draft with trades. We will be back next week where it's going to be a little prediction time. On Monday, where we're going to look at all these rumors. I swear, over the next, 72 hours or whatever it is, you're going to hear all kinds of rumors, guys moving up, guys falling out of the 2nd round. This team's interested in this guy. We are going to go through all the rumors on Monday morning of draft week and say, should you believe this? Do we believe this or not? And then we're going to take a look at FanDuel and say, where do they have some of these guys going? Too high? Too low? We're going to have a little props contest that we can revisit after the draft unfolds next week. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Thank you to Diante Lee. Thank you to Stephen Ruiz. Thank you to Christopher Sutton for producing. Thank you to Kiera Givens on social. Additional production supervision by Conor Nevins and Arjuna Ramgopal. I'm Sheil Kapadia. We will talk to you next time on the Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.